The grand ballroom of Thompson Holdings' new Manhattan skyscraper shimmered under chandeliers, its marble floor reflecting the opulence of the 200 elite guests gathered for the opening gala. Laughter and clinking glasses filled the air until a deafening crash silenced the room. A crystal tray lay shattered at the feet of Kesha Williams, a 35-year-old contract cleaner who had been with the company for just 3 weeks. All eyes turned to her, kneeling amid the shards, her hands trembling as she gathered the pieces. William Thompson III, the millionaire host, sneered from the center of the room, his champagne glass raised like a scepter. "If you can dance a waltz, I'll marry my son to you." His voice boomed, loud enough for all of Manhattan's elite to hear, dripping with mockery. The crowd erupted in cruel laughter, some covering their mouths in mock shock, others relishing the spectacle. "Dad, that's enough," whispered Jonathan Thompson, 28, his face flushed with embarrassment. But William, drunk on whiskey and power, ignored his son. "Now let's make this interesting," he continued, striding forward as if addressing a courtroom. "This woman clearly lacks the coordination to clean. Let's see if she can even move to a beat." Kesha remained silent, her eyes not betraying humiliation or fear, but a profound calm, as if she were cataloging every laugh, every sneer. The event manager stepped forward, murmuring, "Mr. Thompson, perhaps we should better nothing." William cut him off, gesturing dramatically. "Play a waltz. If she dances better than my wife, I'll marry her to my son on the spot." Imagine the Thompson heir wed to the cleaning lady. The room roared with laughter, a wave of collective cruelty washing over the guests. Kesha stood, wiping her hands on her apron, and met William's gaze. For a moment, the room held its breath. "I accept," she said, her voice clear and sharp, slicing through the mockery like a blade. The orchestra faltered, confused, and the laughter died. William blinked, his arrogance wavering. "What did you say?" "I accept your challenge," Kesha repeated, a subtle smile playing on her lips that sent a chill through some of the guests. "But when I dance better than your wife, you'll keep your word, Evan, if it was a joke." The crowd's laughter resumed, louder now, assuming they were about to witness the greatest embarrassment of the decade. None noticed the glint in Kesha sees a spark that had once captivated audiences on the world's grandest stages, before a single night of tragedy rewrote her life. Victoria Thompson, 50, a poised woman known for her ballroom dancing lessons among Manhattan's elite, approached with a venomous smile. "Darling, do I really need to compete with this?" she said, gesturing dismissively at Kesha. "Don't be modest, Victoria," William replied, savoring the moment. "You won that Club Waltz trophy last year? That's more than enough for this little demonstration?" Kesha watched silently, her mind drifting back 15 years. She was Kesha Maro then, principal dancer with the American National Ballet, whose performances drew standing ovations in comparisons to the greatest ballerinas in history. That life ended in a single night car accident after a performance for political elites, 3 months in a coma. And a brutal awakening, her legs would never be the same. "You'll be lucky to walk normally," the doctors said. "Dance professionally impossible." Jonathan William barked, turning to his son. "Get your camera. I want this recorded the day a cleaning lady thought she could dance at my event." Jonathan hesitated, his discomfort palpable. "Dad, this is too far." "She was just doing her job." William's tone turned icy. The girl accepted the challenge. "Jonathan, now she'll entertain us, or would you prefer I tell your girlfriend about last week's little incident?" Jonathan paled, and Kesha noted the blackmail, another glimpse of William's toxic control. "Play the music," William ordered the DJ, "and place your bets. $500 for my wife to win, $1,000 for anyone foolish enough to bet on the employee." The guests laughed, some placing bets, treating the moment as free entertainment. Victoria took the dance floor, stretching theatrically to flaunt her experience. William approached Kesha with a wicked grin. "When you lose on, you will lose. I want you on your knees, apologizing for wasting our time. Then you're fired." Something shifted in Kesha's eyes, a fire born of years on international stages, of grueling physical therapy to walk again, of surviving when everything she loved was taken. "Mr. Thompson," she said, her voice steady, "when I win, and I will win, I want you to keep your word about the marriage. I want you to admit, in front of everyone, that you judged me wrongly based on my skin and my job. I want a public apology." The room tensed. Whispers rippled through the crowd. William laughed, but it was forced. You've got guts. I accept. But when you make a fool of yourself, you'll leave here with nothing, not even your dignity. What William didn't know was that he was about to face Kesha Maro, a woman who had lost everything and rebuilt herself, who knew the cost of respect in a world that had rejected her. As Victoria prepared, a low voice spoke beside Kesha. Miss, I'm Marcus, head of security. I've worked here 20 years. He leaned closer, pretending to adjust his radio. I saw you dance 15 years ago at the National Theater. Kesha Maro, principal soloist. Kesha's heart raced. Someone had recognized her after years of anonymity, of surviving on low W. Tilde. Jobs, I thought you died in that accident, Marcus murmured. The papers said you'd never dance again. The papers said a lot, Kesha replied, her voice steady. Not all of it was true. Marcus nodded. What they're doing to you now is worse than what they did then. He glanced at William, still laughing with the crowd. I need a favor, Kesha said. Record everything after I dances, especially the reactions. Marcus looked puzzled, but agreed. Sure, but why? Kesha smiled faintly. Some people need to learn that underestimating someone is the costliest mistake they'll ever make. Victoria began her dance as the waltz started, her moves competent but predictable, earning polite applause from the biased crowd. Well done, dear, William said, clapping loudly. Now our guest artist. Kesha stepped to the center of the floor, each step deliberate, radiating dignity. What song? The DJ asked, more out of courtesy than expectation. The same one, Kesha said. From the beginning, William laughed. Oh, she wants a second chance. Play it, let's see how long she lasts. What he didn't know was that this waltz was one Kesha had danced hundreds of times, its notes etched into her muscle memory. It was the piece from her final performance before the accident, a night of transcendent artistry that earned a 5-minute ovation. As the music began, Kesha closed her eyes, returning to that stage 15 years ago. The doctors had said she'd never dance again. The media had buried her career, yet in secret, she had never stopped dancing, rebuilding her strength and her love for the art. Her first steps were subtle, almost tentative, letting the crowd underestimate her further. Then, as the music swelled, her movements grew fluid, precise, infused with an emotion that silenced the room. Pirouettes spun with professional grace. A grand defied gravity, and her adaptation of classical ballet to the waltz mesmerized everyone. William's laughter stopped. Victoria's smile vanished. The crowd realized they weren't watching a cleaner, they were witnessing an artist reclaiming her soul. My God, a guest whispered. She's exceptional. Kesha's final sequence, her signature fusion of techniques, struck like lightning. A woman in the crowd gasped. I've seen those moves before. Jonathan, filming as instructed, was transfixed, recognizing genius beyond his father's prejudice. The music ended, and Kesha froze, in a pose of power and vulnerability, arms outstretched, head high, breathing steady. Silence hung heavy, then erupted into thunderous applause. Bravo, someone shouted. The room stood awestruck. Marcus stepped forward, still recording. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce Kesha Maro, former principal soloist with the American National Ballet. The name detonated through the room. Gasps and murmurs followed. Kesha Maro, she's a legend, one guest exclaimed. She was supposed to have died or at least never danced again, another stammered. Clearly, Kesha said, her voice cutting through the shock. The rumors were exaggerated. William paled, his arrogance crumbling. He had humiliated a national treasure on tape in front of Manhattan's elite. Marcus spoke up, holding his phone. Mr. Thompson, you promised to marry her to your son if she outdanced your wife. I believe the audience agrees she's done that. Jonathan stepped forward. Miss Maro, I apologize for my father's inexcusable behavior. Jonathan, shut up. William snapped, his control unraveling. You won't apologize to her? Kesha smiled calmly. Mr. Thompson, shall we discuss that marriage proposal? A man of your stature keeps his word. Yes. You're insane if you think I'll honor a drunken joke, William growled. It wasn't a joke, Kesha said, nodding to Marcus. He played the recording William's bet, his taunts, his confirmation of the terms. The crowd murmured, some laughing nervously, others embarrassed. "That's blackmail," William shouted, losing composure. "No," Kesha corrected. "It's accountability. You made a public bet with 200 witnesses. Now, are you a man of your word? Or is your reputation worth less than your prejudice?" Jonathan approached Kesha. "Miss Maro, I'd honor my father's word not out of obligation, but because any man would be honored to marry someone of your talent and dignity." William trembled with rage. "Jonathan, do this, and you're out of the company, the family, everything." "Then so be it," Jonathan said, extending his hand to Kesha. "Some things matter more than money, Dad, like integrity." Kesha looked at Jonathan's hand, then at the crowd, then at William. 15 years ago, people like you decided I was worthless when I became imperfect. Today, you tried to humiliate me for my skin and my job. But true nobility comes from how we treat others when we think no one's watching. Your son learned that despite you," she smiled at Jonathan. "I'll accept dinner. But marriage? That's for two people who choose each other with love and respect, not bets." The crowd erupted in applause, not just for her dance, but for her dignity. William muttered about lawyers and stormed out, Victoria trailing behind, mortified. Marcus stopped recording. "This'll be interesting on social media," he said with a grin. Within 24 hours, Marcus's video went viral, trending worldwide as Millionaire humiliates legendary ballerina. Thompson Holdings lost $3 million in contracts overnight. William's partners demanded his resignation. Victoria locked herself away, filing for divorce soon after. William, a shadow of his former self, faded into obscurity as a low-level consultant. Kesha, meanwhile, was flooded with offers. Ballet companies wanted her choreography. Lincoln Center offered a solo event, and Hollywood pitched a movie. But the most touching came from children at her old community school, pooling $23 for a scholarship to bring her back to teaching. "I'll take it," Kesha said, tears in her eyes, "but let's make it bigger." 6 months later, the Kesha Maro Center for the Arts opened in Manhattan, funded by global donations. Jonathan, now leading a socially responsible Thompson Holdings, was its first major donor. At the opening, Marcus watched Kesha teach diverse, smiling children. "This isn't just a victory over prejudice," he said. "It's a lesson in how true nobility responds to cruelty." Kesha smiled, watching her students' first ballet steps. "Sometimes, you lose everything to find who you are. And sometimes, others lose everything to learn who they shouldn't have tried to be." Jonathan approached with flowers from the center's garden. "Ready for dinner?" he asked, offering his arm. "Ready," Kesha replied, accepting not just his arm, but the life she'd rebuilt from ashes. Her true revenge wasn't destroying William. It was creating something so beautiful that his cruelty seemed insignificant. Through dignity and excellence, Kesha didn't just win. She transformed the world around her.